So good. So, no coffee today for me. I did have a minor procedure yesterday, and the procedure um, helped me with the issues that I'm having, my feminine issues. So that's amazing. So I feel 100% better compared to where I was, and I'm super excited because um, so I'm the type of individual that always has goals that I'm aspiring to, and one of my goals is my master's program, and it's to get my master's in consciousness and transformative studies. And I just started my first term semester, and then boom, I just got hit with the whirlwind of not feeling well. And so I went to the doctor yesterday, and they sent me in for emergency. I don't want to say surgery, but a procedure. So it was kind of like an in-house procedure that was pretty quick. So it was almost like surgery, but it was like day surgery, and it was just super quick, and really thankful for the fact that the doctors just took me boom. And I think this goes into good morning, Steve. I think this goes into what I was talking about yesterday, sort of kind of the foresight, or how things happen without us really kind of understanding how things are happening, in terms of like there's no scientific evidence, but we can say that these things happen. So yesterday, when I was not feeling well, I was having excruciating pain, and the pain had been going for 3 days, and it was really hard for me to get on Spirit and Coffee. um, and I didn't know what to do. And so I finally said, I'm going to ask for prayers. And I believe in intentionality. I think when people come together, and this has been proven time and time again, they've done studies on this, that when people come together with an intention, you can see that the intention sort of changes the outcome into the intention that people are praying for, or what they have. Good morning, Jennifer. And so what happened yesterday is I asked for prayers, and so I can tell you the process is that I went in, and then they did an ultrasound to sort of see what was going on internally, because I have endometriosis, I have all of these fibroids, I have all these issues with my feminine stuff. And so they went in to see why there was so much cramping and pain. And they said, okay, we see that there are some tissues in there that are probably, and some, maybe some blood clots that are causing some pressure. So anyway, they said right away, instantaneously, we can get you in to see a doctor. But I believe that, yes, it's because I had the intention of going in there to be healed, but I also feel like because I asked for prayers, and so many people rose to the occasion and reached out, that power of that energy helped to heal. And I feel like everybody coming together to support it sort of helped me heal. So I want to say thank you to everybody who actually gave me prayers. I feel 100 times better today, just overnight, which to me is a miracle, because even sometimes after a procedure, there's a little bit of pain, and I feel like a whole new person today. And hopefully, fingers crossed, that it stays that way. And I think it's going to, because the procedure that they did, and another thing, I mean, I'm pretty transparent with everything that's going on with me, but I have fibroids. And so one of my ovaries, if you guys care to know this, has a fibroid on it that's causing pain. So I might have to get surgery for that. That's totally up to me. If I can manage the pain, then I guess I can, keep with it. But the whatever they, the tissues from the endometriosis and all that they extracted and stuff, just probably took off the pressure that it was causing in my uterus. But I feel like the reason why everything fell into place the way it was supposed to is because of prayer intentionality. And that's what I was talking about yesterday. Part of what I was talking about yesterday, that there are things that we don't understand, that sometimes things happen and we're like, well, what was that? We don't have science to explain that. And so, we say it's God, and God is great. And there's so many things that are happening that we don't and cannot put words to. And there's abilities that we have to have foresight into the looking at the others. We can see like maybe what might be happening, or we may tell somebody, don't do this. So instinctually, we have this sort of intuition. And I think so. I would talk about the intuition because it's almost like we get a gut feeling, right? They call it the gut feeling, where it's like, I know that I shouldn't be doing this, or I know something's going to happen. And sometimes we go against the grain of our gut feeling, and then we go, why did we do that? And we go, darn it, I shouldn't have done that. I knew it, I felt it, and yet I didn't listen to myself. And so looking at the gut feeling, right? The gut feeling tells us what? The gut feeling is giving us some sort of clue maybe into the future. But we don't necessarily know. I mean, we believe that it could be giving us some insight as to what may be happening or prediction. Maybe it's self-fulfilled prophecy too. I mean, it could be a bit of both. Like some people will say, well, I can predict the future, right? They'll be like, well, I'm going to go eat with my friend later. And then they go with their friend, see, I predicted the future. But I'm talking about these sort of things that we get, these instinctual gut feelings, and we go, is that intuition and is that foresight into what is about to happen? So, again, for me, it's a lot of what I do is with, especially with drinks, I'm going to just tell you, with drinks, I, when I first, you know, cell phones first came out, and this is dating me, of course, but when the touchscreen first came out, I had the first iPad touchscreen that ever, it was called an iPad, and it was this huge, big thing. And I literally didn't think that touchscreens were ever going to last. Like, I was under them, I was like, they're never going to last. This is never going to last, because my screen kept breaking. And then they wouldn't replace it. And I'm like, yeah, but it just shattered very easily. I didn't even really do anything. So I didn't believe that touchscreens were going to go anywhere. And here we are, the age of touchscreens. But I had the first one because I worked at VoiceStream at the time, and they were just piloting it, to see if it was something that individuals would like. And so, also drinks, right? Like, I would keep drinks nearby, and I had dropped a drink on the phone and ruined it, right? Because that happens. Now, this could be either foresight, or it could be prediction, or it can be intuition, or it could just be that I understand that there are patterns that are set, and that we can change the patterns if we change the behavior. So it could be all of those things, but we don't know for certain. So for me, whenever there's a drink near my phone, and the second that I have that thought that that drink is going to fall on my phone, I move my phone. And the only reason why is because I don't know, my gut tells me that maybe I'm going to drop it. So I don't know if that's intuition or not, and I don't know if I would have ever dropped a drink on the phone. But the fact, or the mere idea that my thought was put out there, sort of says, maybe it could happen now. Maybe it's a possibility, and maybe I'm the one creating it. And I'm going to create that. Hey, Waze Mackie, how are you? It's so good to see you here. We still got to set up a time. I have been out of it, so good morning, bestie. I feel 100% better today. I have been so, I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy, what I just went through. I have just been so out of it, so not feeling well, and today marks the first day of the new me, all maybe the phoenix rising, but I even took an entire week off, which is not like me. So if I take a week off, something is not right. A day maybe, but a whole week, I've never taken a week off from Spirit and Coffee in nearly 4 years. So But it was really, really not feeling well. But am feeling better. And I believe it's because of prayer. So that's what I was talking about earlier, that prayer has this very, this ability to, I don't know, to change outcomes, right? Yes, thanks, bestie. I do. I feel better. Oh my gosh, I feel like a new person. And I get back to working out. I have gained 4 pounds. Who cares? But that's easy. You could lose. It's probably all sodium because I wasn't cooking at home. Sorry. So I'm going like off topic, all over the place. But that's because I haven't been on here in so long, which is fine. I just tell you my whole life story, like I know how. Um, but getting back to working out and back to my life and my energy, and I'm just, oh, thanks. Yeah, self belief is talking your way back to the light. Yeah, balance. Yeah, and so it's been amazing to just kind of go through this process, the physical process, and understand that our physical bodies are very fragile, and that, taking care of them. I'm glad I take care of my body, though, because perhaps if I hadn't taken care of my body, I'd be in a worse predicament, um, going through this process. But the recovery from the procedure I had yesterday, boom, just instantaneously. Right after the procedure, I felt better. It was just amazing. And today I feel great. So, good morning, Betty. So, again, just back at it, and just getting through it. But also talking about those self predictions or self fulfilled prophecies, which I want to continue on. And they call it the PSI, and they're doing research, as I said before, on, how do you measure this stuff? Now, it doesn't need to be scientific, but we know that we live in a scientific world. But then again, there are things that scientists cannot explain. And, they get in a whirlwind and a tizzy, but they don't want to go there. They only because they have their theories, and perhaps their theories will be thrown off, and they don't want to adjust their theories, or maybe they think their theories are complete. But again, we don't live in absolutes, right? So how do we sort of reconcile the mind matter thing, the mind matter? Mind being thoughts that are not tangible, this thing that happens internally that we can't really touch. We can't touch emotion, we can't touch the thoughts that are going on in our head. And in our head, we have these very personal dialogues that happen. And unless we share them, they are ours and only ours, right? So at this point, people can't read our minds, okay? There are people who say they're mind readers, but can we fully hear the thoughts of an individual? I think computers are starting, or they're trying to with computers, sort of connect the brain into and try to see what's actually happening in the brain, and maybe project it like a screen. I know that in some movies science fiction movies, they've done this, but people are trying to do this and to see what's in somebody's mind, but we still cannot touch consciousness. It's not something that we touch. It's not something that's tangible. Okay? And there's this idea of how the material world works with the non-material world. So how is it in operation? Well, it's a both and. It's not siloed, it's not separate. But when we look at postmodernism, it tells us that there's this dualistic thing happening. Now, I can say that, yeah, perhaps we view it as a dualistic. Perhaps I view it as a me and you and separate. But when we started to open up the field of quantum physics and quantum entanglement and all of these other things in science, we said, oh, now we see that everything's interconnected in some way. And classic physics and quantum physics don't sort of like mesh together. There's this thing where it's like, how do we bridge the gap between the thought and the material? And so understanding that science doesn't have all the answers. So people will say, well, it's not science. Well, science is theory, and theory isn't truth. It's not absolute truth. It's still science, and it still has this ability to be flexible and seen through a different lens, right? And there's this other thing in science where it becomes the observer. You could never we're subjectively, right? We're looking at things objectively. And we can't take the subject out or the observer out of the equation. So, how do we calculate the fact that we are observing this thing and that observation can have a specific outcome, right? In a different way. We don't know. We can't say. So, it's too hard to take us out of the equation because we're part of it. Well, that's with anything. So, really getting people to understand, how do we bring, so what's important about understanding this? Well, it could be nothing for you. But what's exciting about this, right, is that you have the ability. What this says is that you have the ability to create what you choose to create in this world. And that your thoughts, can be materialized, right? If you work towards your goals or your dreams, and then they become materialized. Now, they may not look exactly like you thought in the head. Like the other day, I was doing a painting and I had this whole idea in my head and I saw it, and it looks nothing like that in the painting. It came out totally opposite. I'm like, okay, I don't know how to bring that creative thought and idea that's in my brain onto a canvas. But something came out, and it may not have looked exactly like I was visualizing it. And that's typically what happens, right? We have this idea, we're like, oh, I'm onto this great idea, and it's our thought and it's in our head, and we're trying to get people to see it the way we can, but they can't see it unless we had a projector to project it on a wall so that they can see exactly what we're seeing in our head. They're never truly going to understand what's in your head because they don't live in your head. They don't see it the way you see it. It's your thought, it's your unique vision. And so that foresight that you have, and then you're trying to bring it out into the material world, and sometimes it just doesn't come out the way we think. We have this great old map in our head how things are going to go, and then they just go totally somewhere else, and you're like, okay. But flexibility is important, right? And understanding that material is different than the thought. How we mold this material world is different from the actual thoughts that are in our head, because we're trying to reconcile the intangible thought with the material world. We're trying to express it, and and sometimes it's distorted, sometimes it comes out better than we thought it was going to come out, sometimes it doesn't come out at all. But this becomes the biggest challenge for most people. Like, people, I have a great idea, good morning, Nicole, and they have this great idea in their head and they're trying to get it out and it doesn't come out, right? Good morning, Patrick. And it doesn't come out. And it's okay. So there's a book of birthdays, and just so you guys know, I think I've said this to you guys. I almost, sometimes I'm like, why do I want to admit this? But it's the truth. I was born on the same day as Sigmund Freud. Okay, that guy was kind of crazy, and not all his theories were 100% correct. But if you look at the day of birthdays, and I don't know how they do it. I know they do it astrologically and stuff like that, but it's called the day of materialized fantasy. Meaning that we can bring to life the fantasies that are in our head, that we can bring to life and materialize the things that are going on in our head. And we see the fantasy, but we also can see how it would work in the material world. And I agree with it. I don't always agree with things that are on my birthday, but this book is pretty, I feel like it's a little bit more spot on than most. I think they've done a better job of sort of diving deep into, specific astrological signs and sort of how it works. Okay, so I will just say that part of it is, yes, the day of materialized fantasy, where we learn to bring our dreams and our thoughts into the reality of this world. Now, we all have this power, but not everybody knows how to do it. And it becomes a challenge. And I can say that there are things that I have not materialized that I've been trying to. So there are things that I've worked towards, but I still have this ability to bring into the world what I'm trying to create. And if it doesn't come out the way I like it, I will find a way to make it happen. In other words, I don't see no. Even with my degree. So I want to get a PhD. Like that's my ultimate goal, right? It's done unconsciously by most people. Yes. Um and so the degree is something that I wanted. Now, am I facing challenges? Yeah, and I could give up because the challenge being that in a traditional sense, education, you have to do this tests and you have to do the LSAT, the MCAT, you know what I mean? There's not ACTs, I'm sorry, that's for high school, but you have to do the, what is it, the LSAT. Oh, I can't even think of them right now. Anyway, there's all these tests that you have to do in order to get into graduate school. And for me, I'm not good at tests. It's just not my thing. And there's a lot that goes into these tests and what they mean. And anyway, I can go on for days about how that whole system is rigged, but it doesn't matter. So I was kind of upset because I'm like, I don't care. I'm going to do this. So for me, it's finding the loophole. I never hear no. I'm like, no, this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to do it. Like who is to tell me no? Why not me? Why everybody else and not me? Because my test scores aren't enough. But my drive, my passion, and my ability to continue and get through it no matter what is there. Like that's more powerful than a test score, because a test score doesn't say the determination of an individual to learn something or to be available. So it doesn't give you that. Now, in the traditional sense, if you want to go to any kind of college that is an elite college, or like Yale or Princeton, all these Harvard, all these schools, you have to pass their tests, right? Well, for me, I'm like, who are you, first of all? And I don't care about your test. Who are you? Okay? So so there's me being a little bit like whatever. And a little upset. Now, did I find a loophole? Yeah, I did. And the loophole was really getting clear about what I wanted in my education, really understanding who I am and what was going to make me happy and drive me to the next level of my education. And I found a program when I was ready that they didn't do exam scores and all this. They said, okay, we need you to write in your letter. You need a letter of recommendation from professors. So I did all this stuff and then I got accepted and there was an interview. But this is not your traditional master's program. There's not a billion people signing up to take these classes. It's not a Ivy League school, and most people may not have heard about it. But for what I want to do, it serves its purpose. Is it a accredited master's program? Yes. Can this lead to a PhD? Yes. And the lead up to the PhD, is that PhD going to say that I need a test? No. So again, it's manifesting your dreams. They may not look, like you thought they were going to look. It may not be exactly as you think it's going to be. But the fact that you are moving towards the goal is what's important. It's like I see this goal and it's whatever's going to get in the way, I'm not going to stop. So I see people constantly giving up on their dreams. And is it easy? No. They've designed the system to make it very easy for us to just go to a 9-to-5 job. They've set it up that way. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. Don't hear me say that. There's people who absolutely love to do a 9-to-5 job. I have friends who love it. And that's their thing. They absolutely love it. But there are people who are striving to be in a different sort of system that is not dictated by what the system tells them they need to be. So, in other words, they're entrepreneurs and they're trying to aspire to create these things for themselves. And it becomes this battle, this struggle to make their dreams manifest, to bring to life, to bring forth the thing that they're trying to create. And so they continue on. Did I say good morning, Adriana? Good morning. So the day of materialized fantasy is saying, how do I bring and bridge the gap between the thoughts that I have and the dreams that I have into material world, into materialization? And I tell people the first thing is write it down. That really does help. You don't want it to stay in the book forever, but if you write down your goals and you're very clear about them, like I think like Wise Mackie was saying, unconsciously it starts to happen. But there are things that people stop, especially in the entrepreneurial world. It's not an easy world to live in, because it takes a lot of determination and a lot of failures, and you have to be okay with failing over and over. And I've failed a lot of my little journeys that I've taken and different things that I've tried out to be, just on my own. Hey, Suzanne. Good morning, Suzanne. I feel better. I got a procedure yesterday. Oh my God. What a craziness. And hopefully we could talk today. That would be good. So understanding how to bridge the gap between the two. And it takes a lot of determination and a lot of hard work, of course, because we are trying to figure it out. We're trying to figure out how do we get clear about what our dreams and our visions are, and how do we, there's things that I still have, like I said, that are just kind of sort of hanging there. Like I want to do courses, and I want to expand Spirit and Coffee, and there has been an expansion of Spirit and Coffee in some ways, but it's not like a money generating thing. It's me giving back to the world, but there could be a enterprise tied to it, not with the live videos, because that's never going to be, it's not what I wanted it for, but for other pieces like trainings and perhaps, but that's never come to materialize. Why? Well, there's blockages there, and it's me, and I understand that. So it's getting past that so that I can materialize and create and manifest what I truly wanting to create. When it comes to your own personal stuff like this, gets a little bit more challenging. But to leave the legacy is fine, even if it is these live videos. But beyond that, there's trainings I'd like to develop, right? There's other things that I'd like to develop in terms of this. Maybe some merchandise like mugs and stuff like that. Cute things. Not huge money making things, but things that might generate money and perhaps give back to society. Allow that money to be filtered into, I don't know, nonprofits or a cause or a foundation or whatever it is. So, there's ideas that I've had forever that it takes a while. Will it ever come to fruition? Maybe not. But I could say this, every single person, and even if you talk to the most intelligent, are the ones who have sort of shaped the world in a different way, philosophers, educated people, they always felt like they weren't 100% complete with what they were doing either. So, because there's always another rock to unturn, especially if you're an explorer, especially if you're someone who's very curious about life and open to possibility and open to new ways of looking at life. You're turning over different rocks all the time, and so there's always a new thing to be discovered, or a new thing to be created, or a new way to look at the world, or a new information that you're getting and you want to communicate to others. So it never ends. And so I guess for me, it's like, will this ever come to full fruition? Perhaps. I pray and I keep chugging along. And now that I feel better, maybe I start to focus on it, because I couldn't focus on it for the past 3 weeks. But I feel like this procedure is, and I think that I feel, at least I woke up feeling great today. So thank God. And thanks for the prayers. Um, as I continue to dive in to the paradigms of consciousness, and they're calling it holism. What is it? The post pomo, which is um, postmodernism, but post modernism, or post-postmodernism, and then there's postmodernism, that we start to engage in the both and instead of the either or, which I love, which is that we are both intangible and tangible at the same time, and that we can bridge the gap between those two, and that we can co-create. Again, it's the same message I've been giving, maybe different words, maybe a different language and way to describe that we have the power within us, and that we can co-create and create the world we want to shape or see today. So I'm so happy you're feeling better. Oh, I know. Thank God. Thanks, Betty, for your prayers. I believe it's the prayer. I do. I will 100% stick to that. And that's why I am such a big person on asking for prayer on Facebook. I think it's the best thing ever. I love when people ask for prayers on Facebook. I think it's a great platform to sort of focus in that energy on a specific person or family for the healing of an individual. And I know that they've done studies on this. And I have faith. I don't even care about the studies. It's the faith that I have that tells me that when people come together with a powerful intention, that a true miracle and healing can happen. That's my belief. No, other people don't want to believe that. That's okay. You don't have to take on my beliefs, but I believe it. Now, if we looked at the scientific part of it, they have done studies that show that when people come together with an intention, that things start to shift and change. So there's actual data that shows that. So if you're more scientifically based and want to look at the data, that's fine. But I have faith, and I know that it works because God is greater than we could ever understand, greater than I could ever understand. So my belief again. So there you have it. So thank you guys for the prayers, and thank you for showing up. I believe that I'm going to be feeling great moving forward. And because of that, I will be on here Monday through Friday, every single day next week. I think I missed one day this week, which I just couldn't. And yesterday I almost couldn't. And I said, nope, you're going to push through this. And I did. So today I feel energetic and ready to go. So thank you guys so much. I believe in prayer 100. So everyone here, please pray for my son. Yes. Okay. Please pray for Betty's son. Yeah. And you guys are always welcome to ask for prayer on here. That's what this is about. Like, we come together as a family to support one another because we're manifesting things about it. Yeah, exactly. That's the consciousness. The way that the consciousness works, nobody knows, nobody understands it completely, fully. But the weirdness, or quantum, what do they say? It's that quantum, at a distance, strange weirdness at a distance, or weirdness at a distance. Anyway, that's what Einstein said. A spookiness at a distance, that's what it was called. That's quantum entanglement, which means we're all interconnected, basically. I mean, that's probably the simplest form I can put it in. We're all interconnected, and because of that, what we do impacts everything around us. So prayer is impactful. So please pray for Betty. I believe that's you said your son, right? Yeah, your son, that he heals, that God puts his hands upon him, and that the power and the miracle of God's glory be bestowed upon him, and that he heals. Many, many prayers. There you go. Prayers are important. Okay, so I love you guys. And I will be seeing you guys on Monday. Wise Mackie, I know you're still on here. Shoot me a text. perhaps we can do something next week or on the weekend, next weekend. Um, oh, you're welcome, Betty. Of course. That's, like I said, that's why we're here. So please pray. And I always say, like Betty, send those, put it on Facebook. I do because everybody will chime in on Facebook. I love it. I think it's the most beautiful thing that I ever. The most beautiful thing I see on Facebook is when people band together to pray for somebody. I love it. Like that's my favorite thing to see on Facebook because that's what we're here to do, help each other heal. Like we have the power as a nation, as a species, as a human, to come together for the healing of the planet, of the people. Like we have this power to do it with each other, and that's a miracle in itself. I'm a walking testament of a miracle. This is God's miracle. Yesterday I was in excruciating pain, pain that I couldn't even I even threw up because of the pain was so bad. And now today feeling great. I feel great. And that to me, it's the prayer. And yes, there was the doctors, but that was part of the prayer because everything fell into place the way it was supposed to. They were able to see me. They were like, okay, we see some tissue, we see some stuff in there. We can see you today. We need you to get here by this time. And it all fell into place. I didn't have to wait 5, 6 days down the road of suffering it all. But why? Because I feel like the prayer helped to lead things to, there was this hone in and this focus and intention from all these people supporting. And because of that power, I feel like I was healed. So we can heal people together. I truly believe that. Okay. So healing for your son. Okay. So much love. I love you guys. And of course, I will be seeing you guys next week. And I'm super excited. I get to get back to my workouts. Yay. So I can get cut again. Okay. So I love you guys.